The night air is thick with mist as Evelyn slips into the alley beside Saint Caldus Cathedral, the ancient stone walls looming over her like silent sentinels. She clutches her battered folder to her chest, eyes scanning the shadows for movement, before slipping into the alcove where Jonas waits. He stands half shrouded by a tattered banner, his fingers drumming nervously against the cold brick. His eyes are bloodshot, darting between her and the street behind. "You shouldn't have come alone," he whispers, glancing upward, where a faint glimmer betrays a hidden camera lens. Evelyn steps closer, lowering her voice to match his urgency. Jonas reveals that the city's most vulnerable, those without names, the ones no one counts, have vanished at an alarming rate. He's seen church wagons arriving at dawn, unloading the desperate beneath the cathedral for assessments. He warns her that even those they trust may now be compromised, and that the church's security has doubled in recent days. Despite the fear in Jonas's voice, Evelyn's resolve hardens. She agrees to follow him, knowing she may be walking into a trap, but certain this is the closest she's come to the truth. Jonas gestures to a crumbling archway, and together they slip through, ducking behind a rusted iron gate as church bells toll midnight. The gate swings shut behind them, and Jonas produces a small brass key, unlocking a hidden door in the stone. As they descend a narrow flight of stairs, the walls close in, lit only by the sputtering glow of a single filament bulb. The city's noise vanishes, replaced by the hush of ancient catacombs and the distant hum of machinery below. Evelyn's heart hammers in her chest as Jonas murmurs, "Whatever you see down here, don't hesitate." They press onward, deeper into the world the church has hidden beneath the city's heart. The air grows colder as Evelyn and Jonas descend the spiral staircase, the ancient stones slick beneath their feet. Their footsteps echo faintly in the tight shaft as they reach a heavy metal door marked with the sigils of the church, a geometric sunburst crossed by a serpent. Jonas hesitates, his hand trembling as he fits a brass key into the lock. The lock clicks, but does not open. Above the handle, a glass panel glows with runes, a coded lock requiring a passphrase. Jonas fumbles for the words, sweat beading his brow. Evelyn remembers a passage from church scripture, "Truth through sacrifice," and murmurs it under her breath. Jonas's eyes widen in recognition. He repeats the phrase, and the runes flicker green. The door unlocks with a pneumatic hiss. As the door swings open, Evelyn is struck by the scent of disinfectant and ozone. The corridor ahead is tiled in white and grey, lined with warning sigils and placards. Authorised entry only. Biohazard protocol. The walls are studded with security cameras and small glass vials set into alcoves. Jonas urges her on, pointing out a painted sunburst above a side passage, a sign that they are beneath the church's most sacred ground. Every footstep feels perilous. Evelyn notes the meticulous order, the way even the dust seems swept aside. She wonders how many have entered and never returned. Jonas signals her to stay close, whispering that the next level will be harder to breach. As they move deeper, the hum of machinery grows louder, and the passage narrows to a single steel door, barely visible beneath layers of faded warnings. They exchange a final glance, then step through, vanishing from the world above. Moving in near silence, Evelyn and Jonas edge through the dim sub-basement corridors, the only sound the faint hiss of air ducts and the distant clatter of metal carts. The corridor is a maze of intersecting passageways, each marked with numbers and warning glyphs. Every few meters, tiny red lights blink from surveillance cameras, forcing them to time their progress to the sweep of automated shutters. Suddenly, Jonas halts, flattening himself against the wall as two church guards in crisp uniforms round the corner, their boots echoing on the tile. Evelyn's breath catches. The guards stop to consult a clipboard, muttering about an unscheduled audit. Jonas gestures frantically, leading Evelyn to a narrow maintenance hatch. She squeezes through after him, heart pounding in her ears, brushing past pipes that radiate faint warmth. They crawl for several meters, emerging into a shadowed alcove behind a frosted window. Through the glass, Evelyn sees a sprawling medical facility, rows of cots, flickering monitors, and masked church attendants moving among the poor and sickly. The scale is staggering. Dozens, perhaps hundreds, of people are being processed, each one tagged and logged. Jonas points out a side room where church officials in white coats cluster around a rolling cart stacked with vials and charts. Evelyn snaps a few quick photographs, hands shaking. She realises she is witnessing the epicenter of the operation, the place where the city's forgotten are claimed by the church. The gravity of the conspiracy crashes over her, and she steels herself for what comes next. Jonas and Evelyn sneak onto an elevated walkway, peering down into the clinic room below. The air is taut with tension. Every cough and whimper from the rows of cots feels magnified. Church officials move between the beds, reading from clipboards and marking forearms with coloured ink. A gaunt woman on a cot pleads for water, her voice cracking. A nurse hushes her, glancing around as if aware of unseen eyes. Evelyn's fingers tremble as she raises her slim camera, snapping a series of photos through the grate. Beside her, Jonas switches on a pocket recorder, capturing the muffled exchange. The lead examiner reads names from a list. Bernat, Yarrow, Sorn. The name Sorn echoes in Evelyn's memory. She scribbles it down. Suddenly, a patient lets out a cry, writhing as the examiner draws blood. The nurse looks up sharply, suspicion flickering across her face. Evelyn freezes, willing herself invisible. The moment passes. The nurse returns to her duties. On the far side of the room, two men in church regalia discuss test results, one whispering, "Project Lantern proceeds. Send the suitable to the next phase." Evelyn's teeth clench. This is the link she needs. She notes the way some patients are led away through a side door, their fates unknown. She and Jonas exchange a look. This is what they came for, and perhaps more than they bargained for. From the walkway, Evelyn hears voices drifting nearby. She signals Jonas, and together they move silently towards a doorway leading into a corridor. They press up behind the door, straining to listen. Inside, two clergy, one in ornate red vestments, the other in plainer robes, debate in urgent low tones. The prelate, voice clipped and cold, insists the experiments are a holy mandate. Sanctified experimentation is our charge. We must not question the design. The other, a younger cleric whose features remain obscured by shadow, pushes back. We were taught to serve, not to harm. There are lines. His words are cut off as the prelate's shadow stretches across the wall. Evelyn tenses as the prelate's eyes dart toward the door, suspicion flickering. Jonas acts quickly, dropping a metal tool with a clatter down an adjacent hall. The prelate storms out, robes billowing, scanning the corridor for intruders. Evelyn presses into the shadows, holding her breath as footsteps thunder past. In the silence that follows, she catches the younger cleric muttering, One day, the truth will out. Evelyn's mind races. There is conflict within the church, a crack in the doctrine. She looks to Jonas, mouthing, "We're not alone." With the way temporarily clear, they slip away, moving deeper into the labyrinth, toward the archives where secrets might yet be found. They move with purpose now, slipping into a low-lit records alcove, lined with shelves of battered ledgers and sealed folders. Evelyn's pulse quickens as she rifles through the stacks, searching for the ministry sigil or any mention of Project Lantern. Her fingers find a bundle of correspondence, stamped with both church and ministry seals. She flips the pages, snapping photos as quickly as her trembling hands allow. Each flash of the camera feels dangerous, the sound too loud in the tomb-like silence. Suddenly, footsteps approach, the shuffling gait of a records clerk returning early from break. Evelyn's mind races. She scans the folders, prioritizing those with familiar names and signatures. She photographs a page listing transfer payments and a ledger showing the church receiving funds from the ministry earmarked for Lantern. The clerk's shadow stretches across the threshold. Evelyn slips the last paper back, retreating into the gloom just as the clerk enters, humming to himself. She and Jonas exchange a silent look of relief, knowing they've secured vital evidence, but had to leave the thickest ledger behind. As they edge out, a distant metallic clang rings through the corridors, a signal that patrols are shifting. Jonas tugs Evelyn's sleeve, and they hurry toward the exit, the weight of what they've gathered, both a triumph and a burden. Evelyn and Jonas rush through the maze of corridors, guided by the echoing clang of the patrol bell. They turn a corner, sprinting past a row of locked storage rooms. Suddenly, Evelyn's boot presses down on a tile that sinks with a faint click. Red lights flare to life overhead. A klaxon blares, sharp and mechanical, reverberating through the underground. Jonas curses, grabbing Evelyn's arm. "Split up. They can't catch us both." Quick as breath, he darts left toward the old crypt. Evelyn bolts right, ducking into a narrow passage as steel doors begin to slide shut across the main corridors. The floor trembles as automated turrets flicker to life, scanning for movement. Evelyn flattens herself against the wall, heart in her throat. Through a grated window, she glimpses church guards, suiting up in reinforced armour, barking orders into radios. A cold realisation settles. The church's security is far more advanced than she or Jonas anticipated. She doubles back, searching for an alternate route, the alarm's howl pressing her onward. The labyrinth seems to shift around her, every passage a dead end or a trap. She has only seconds to choose her next move. Jonas's fate now lies elsewhere, cut off by the lockdown. Alone, Evelyn steels herself and sprints for the Reliquary, the last unexplored avenue of escape. Evelyn bursts into the Reliquary, a vaulted chamber lined with glass cases displaying ancient relics and illuminated manuscripts. Golden light pools across mosaic floors, casting fractured shadows. The heavy scent of incense lingers, almost masking the metallic tang of fear. She hears boots pounding behind her, guards closing in. Evelyn ducks behind a marble plinth, scanning the room for exits. A locked door stands at the far end, marked with a mosaic sunburst and a coded dial. She recalls a psalm she overheard from the dissenting cleric. Through trial, light reveals the path, and enters the numbers corresponding to the psalm's verses. The lock clicks. As the guards burst in, sweeping the chamber with lanterns, Evelyn slips through the hidden door, closing it behind her with a soft thud. She finds herself in a narrow, dust-choked tunnel, the air thick with the scent of old stone and candle wax. Behind her, the guards curse, searching the chamber, unaware of the secret exit. Evelyn races down the passage, heart pounding, the sounds of pursuit fading behind her. She realises that the church's doctrine isn't just dogma. It is woven into the very structure of its secrets. Alone in the darkness, she presses forward, committed to escape. The tunnel empties into the cramped safe house Evelyn has prepared, a former storage cellar beneath a forgotten tailor's shop. She bolts the door and slumps into a creaking chair, her hands raw and shaking. She spreads the evidence across a battered desk. Photos, hastily scribbled notes, audio reels. But as she scrolls through the camera's images, dread settles in. Some of the photos are smeared, blurred by her shaking hands or by the poor light. Others are corrupted, replaced by static. The most damning ledger is missing. Evelyn grits her teeth, refusing to despair. Among the salvageable images, she finds one with the name Dr. Sorn circled in red ink, a new thread. She plays back Jonas's audio. The phrase, Project Lantern, transfer to Phase 2. Her mind races. Jonas's fate is unknown, perhaps worse, but she catalogues what she has, organising the clearest evidence and cross-referencing names and dates. The loss burns, but she knows she cannot stop now. The conspiracy runs deeper than she imagined, and she has proof, if only partial. As dawn's grey light seeps through the cellar window, Evelyn pulls out her cipher book and begins drafting messages to the few people she trusts, determined to press on. With little sleep and nerves frayed, Evelyn pores over the coded fragments of church doctrine she's collected. Her notebook fills with half-broken ciphers and cross-references, but without context, the meaning slips through her fingers. She tries to connect the fragments, sunburst symbols, references to the Watcher, scriptural verses linked to dates and facilities, but she lacks the key. Frustrated but undaunted, she drafts a message in cipher to Mara, the only person within the church she dares to trust, and another to her unnamed ally. Using a battered typewriter, Evelyn encodes the message, careful to disguise its true content. She tucks the slips into a hollowed-out book and prepares to use a dead drop near Market Row. Before leaving, she notices a line in the doctrine. The Watcher observes as the lantern is lit. The phrase sends a chill through her. She recalls the figure in the low-brimmed hat, lingering at every corner since her audit began. Are the Watcher and the Church's doctrine one and the same? Steeling herself, she dons a plain coat, erases her tracks, and slips out the back, the messages secure in her satchel. Every step outside now feels like walking a tightrope above a chasm. The city is waking as Evelyn moves through winding streets, her steps purposeful but wary. She slips into a narrow side street near Market Row, heart pounding as she approaches the dead drop, a loose stone in a crumbling wall behind a shuttered bakery. She slides the coded messages inside and retrieves a folded scrap left in return. A shadow lingers at the far end of the street, a hunched figure in a grey coat, watching too intently. Evelyn's pulse spikes. She turns down a different alley, weaving through a web of steam grates and early merchants. In a secluded doorway, she reads Mara's reply, a veiled warning written in coded verse. All is not lost. Some lights remain unextinguished. The wolf is among the shepherds. Evelyn's breath catches. Mara hints that a sympathiser exists within the church, and perhaps Jonas is still alive. The danger is growing, but so is the possibility of help from within. She tucks the message away, mind racing, and sets off for home, resolved to keep fighting even if every step is shadowed. Evelyn approaches her apartment as dusk settles, the city's electric lamps flickering to life, casting long shadows across the cobblestones. She pauses at the corner, senses prickling. Across the street, beneath a flickering lamp, stands a figure in a low-brimmed hat, motionless, hands gloved, face turned just enough to catch her gaze. She recognises the posture. The watcher is back, more brazen than ever. Evelyn's hand trembles on her satchel. She resists the urge to look directly, instead circling the block and entering her building through a rarely used service door in the alley. She slips up the back staircase, avoiding the front window. Inside her small apartment, she latches the door and peeks through the curtains. The watcher remains, a silent sentinel, unmoving as the city's noise swells. Evelyn's chest tightens with the knowledge that she is now a marked target for both church and ministry. Her investigation has crossed a threshold. There is no going back. As she turns out the light, the watcher's silhouette remains visible in the glow of the street lamp. The city is no longer safe, but Evelyn's resolve only sharpens. She gathers her notes and prepares for the next battle, knowing the eyes of power are now fixed squarely on her.